the middle of the lineup up at the game. They should have won that game. They put up 10-7 in the final 2 games of the series. An ugly one in the middle, losing 6-3, but they pumped them for runs. They got to Kluber, they got to Carrasco, they hit the bullpen. The ERA for the Red Sox bullpen was actually pretty good, minus the Hembree home run. So I think they have the advantage because this is a new team, new year, and the way they ended this series and stuck it around in Game 1, I see no reason why we shouldn't take it in 6 or 7. I don't think we'll win 4 or 5, but we should win it.
Well, and I'm more confident in the fact that we did the one thing that I've kind of been questioning for a while. We talked about a couple of shows back about who have they hit? What good starting pitchers have they actually hit? And all of a sudden they get to Kluber and they absolutely just go at Carrasco. So that was really encouraging for me to see. And then to be able to get to the bullpen a couple times this series. I mean, I'm really excited.
Well, I don't necessarily feel any worse, but I'm not going to... that's a series that I still think could go either way. And yeah, we did get to Kluber, but he also pitched 1 out into the 7th inning and gave up nothing after the 2nd inning, and we didn't beat him. And the game was tied, before that fluke play. So we're in a tie regardless. Porcello gave up 3 runs legitimately, no matter how you want to look at it. So the game's tied there, and then in a 7-game series, we have to play Kluber twice, who we've never beaten, and we're going to have Bauer, I'm assuming, twice, was a top 5 or 6 Cy Young candidate, who's going to be pretty fresh by the time the postseason rolls around. So we're not going to be facing Plukto, and we're not going to be facing Bieber, and I'm assuming we're going to face Carrasco, and to me, that's their David Price, at least against us. And so I love that matchup regardless who's pitching him, but I'm not much more comfortable than I was a week ago. And then I'll tell you one thing that's not going to happen is we're not going to be stealing many bases. Mookie got gunned down. Kinsler got gunned down. 2 above-average base stealers. So, and Francona wasn't aggressive at all. He didn't really put himself in a position to be. So I think we can beat them. I'm kind of looking at it similarly to how the Red Sox matched up with Detroit, really. That's how I look at it, and we'll see. We'll see, but Kluber twice, Bauer twice, makes me nervous.
No, yeah, it definitely makes me nervous. I mean, Kluber twice, but to be fair, if you're going to tell me that going into a playoff game, Porcello and Kluber are gonna trade stat lines, I'll take that, right? Because Porcello should have been in there, but like you said, he legitimately had a quality start at this point before Cora left him in there stupidly. And we got to Kluber. He gave a quality start, but that's getting to Corey Kluber. If you can put up 3 runs against Kluber in 8 innings, you're still getting to him. So I'm happy with that, but we will have to face Kluber twice and Bauer twice if everything matches up well for them. But they're going to have to face Chris Sale, who's going to win the Cy Young this year, and they're going to have to face David Price, who has been unbelievable and has given me no reason this year, other than his past history, that he is going to have a playoff meltdown or can't handle these lineups. He dominated the Yankees. He dominated Cleveland today. He pitched very well against Houston earlier this year. And against Houston was big because that was in the middle of his whole, or the beginning of the end of his whole carpal tunnel, doesn't want to pitch against good pitching, can't pitch against the Yankees. That was right in the middle of that, and he pitched really well there. So, they got to match up against 2 really good players. And David Price, if he continues to pitch like this, we'll get some Cy Young votes because he's going to finish with like a 3.3 ERA at this point. I mean, yes, he can't pitch in the postseason. We all know that, but this might be the year he finally figures it out. Just like LeBron James was never not going to win a championship. Kershaw was never not going to pitch well in the playoffs. David Price eventually will pitch well as a starter in the playoffs. Last year he pitched very well as a reliever. This year he's pitching the best he's been in 3 years. He's finally healthy, it seems. He has confidence, and he can pitch against grade A pitching. So this is, really the David Price we paid $31 million for.
With Chris Sale, before I get to Price, that's probably his worst team is the Indians, and the last
Houston's, I think, worse.
Yeah, Houston. Alex Bregman says dad.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, he's definitely struggles with them as well. But I know in the last, I don't know if it's the last 2 seasons or the last 3, Sale's ERA is like 14-something against Cleveland. So, and that's a team that's seen him quite a bit, because he was in that division. And so, I'm cautiously optimistic that a rested Chris Sale is going to pitch fairly well. But in the back of my mind, it's still, the history is still there. And with David Price, everybody's waiting for this. People are harping about it on Facebook Live right now. I'll just say, coming into today, he had that July 1st start against Severino, didn't go well. We played a bunch of bad teams. Then against Philly, I thought, okay, well, this is a good test, and he pitched very well. I can't remember if he pitched both series, but in the second series, he pitched especially well. That's a high strikeout lineup, and it might be tailor-made for guys like Price and Kluber and, all those, real solid Cy Young candidate type guys. And but nonetheless, he pitched very well, and then today, I thought there was a lot of potential for it to not go very well. And Cleveland's ranked number 5, especially with lefties. They've always tended to hit lefties pretty well. And he was lights out. And so from here out, I'm not really waiting for the floor to drop on him. Maybe one of those Yankees starts late in the year. If Judge is back, if Sanchez is back, I might get a little skeptical. Especially if it's in, Yankee Stadium, because that's his house of horrors. It's the worst place. But at this point, I know he's going to pitch well throughout the year. Like you said, Dave, very well. Could be probably a top 4, 5, or 6 Cy Young guy. Maybe even higher, because I don't think Sale's going to be up there at this point. He's going to miss too much time. And I think he's going to be, a part of what gets us in the 105 to 110 win bracket. And with that said, and I'm giving him as much credit as I can here, and I'm giving him all the confidence for the rest of the regular season, I'm still not comfortable with him in October. He's going to be the game 2 or 3 starter. We're saying we want Porcello third, but Cora might decide to wedge him in between the lefties there. Porcello might be the only righty starter we have again. So,
which isn't an awful idea.
No, he would be. Porcello's going to be the only righty starter.
Probably, yeah. Because, this was an audition for Eovaldi the other day to maybe make a case for Game 4, and, he wasn't very convincing. But over to Price, I'm not gonna be comfortable with him in the postseason until he gives us a quality start, and I guess I'll leave it at that. I'd like to say a quality start to where we actually win, whether he gets the W or not. But I want to see him go at least 6 strong with us in the game, and he hasn't shown that yet. And there's a lot wrong with him upstairs in his head, and I can go on and on all day about that and why I don't think he takes accountability. I don't like the way he was giving Johnny Miller shit earlier in the week. I thought that was kind of a low blow for a guy who has a hard time talking, and so that's the David Price I can't stand. But for anybody that followed me, on Twitter from the very beginning in 2015, which was Rick Porcello's first year, that whole year was a hate fest, just as bad as the last couple of years have been with David Price. And you don't hear me talking a lot of crap about Porcello, so that's where I'll be at next year if David Price gets through the month of October and, makes an imprint on it, which he hasn't done so far. This is his 11th year, so his record is ominous regardless of what he's doing this year, and I'm not going to move past that until he finally gets the win. But I cannot deny that he is a top 3, 4, 5 pitcher in the American League, and whether I like it or not, he's going to get the votes. So that's my piece on David Price.
Yeah, and I think that's completely fair. I mean, I don't like David Price, the personality off the field. I think some of his clubhouse stuff is a little silly. I think some of the way he talks to the media is stupid, and I don't think he takes full accountability as well. But David Price, the baseball player, this is the best I've seen him in like 4 years. He's locked in, even with these crazy inflated starts against the 2 against New York and even the Kansas City one, because he only went 4 2/3 that game, so really inflated. His batting average against opponents only batting 230. They're only batting 234 against them, a 1.15 WHIP, and his ERA is currently 3.5 on the dot. So, yeah, he's just been really good this year, and finally, as advertised, he's not worth $31 million because he's 30-something years old and lost like 5 mile an hour on his fastball. But that's just time. That's not his fault. But he is pitching like a legitimate number 2 right now. And on some teams, legit number 1. So really happy with what I've seen there. And it's given me confidence for the month of October. Just like the confidence of him in the bullpen last year, A, being willing to go there, which was good, and B, showing how good he looked and showing at the end of the season how good he looked last year, give me confidence for it. The whole squad has to be good in October, including position players. Mookie Betts still has a lot to prove in the playoffs. So I'm hoping the whole team can turn it around. But right now, this team gives me no reason not to think that they're going to make the World Series. Whatever happens when you get there, sure. But this team's just they're clicking.
Yeah,
they're the best team in baseball right now, and it's not even close.
Oh, the A's. I don't know. They've had a pretty nasty post All-Star break. But I'll still say the Sox are first. And just one last thing, I'll give Price credit on this. He has reinvented himself because, like you said, 5 miles an hour is off the fastball. It might not come back. He's not showing any indication that he's going to start gassing people again. And his command of the strike zone, especially the lower 2 corners of it, has just been phenomenal. And like I said, he's reinvented himself, and that's not easy to do. Some guys never do, and he's doing it right now. So, yeah. Over back to Chris Sale. One thing I want to mention real quick that I meant to earlier. Do you guys think he was just a little too violent in that one comeback start that he had? Because, I mean, he was blowing people away, and I don't think he has to be that aggressive necessarily to get people out.
I think that's just his pitching motion. It's very violent looking, and it looks like that. I don't know if he was going much harder than he has in some other games. He's actually thrown harder fastballs in other games, I think, this year on average than he was in that game, and he was hurling it, no doubt, but the Orioles are also that bad. So the 12 strikeouts in 5 innings looks like, oh man, he's trying to throw everybody, throw it through the glove, but same token, a lot of slider, strikeouts and, a couple looking, and that team really stinks. So I don't think he was overdoing anything. I think he was just showing that he's fine, he's good, and he feels good, and that if they need him to pitch, he could pitch. And let me tell you, if we were Seattle right now, and we were looking up at 3 teams, which would be the Yankees, the A's, and Houston, he'd be pitching right now. Because I don't think that he is, one bad pitch away from Tommy John or out for a while or whatever the hell Hugh Darvish came down with the other day. I don't think it's that. I think it's a case of we have a huge lead. We're going to make the playoffs. We're not going to have to play the wild card game. he needs rest. Besides this Cleveland series, which would have been nice,